Hey guys, what is going on? This is Samurai bringing you a brand new video and my very first video about Ark of Osiris and the changes made to Ark of Osiris, adding the new skills to the game mode, as they said to I guess help balance out how Ark of Osiris is played. So we're going to go over and review all the skills, and I'm going to say my personal take on it. I'm also going to point out scenarios and situations that I think would be optimal for why those skills would be used and when they should be used during the game, as I want people to understand how how they work, or how I perceive they will work, because I have not played Ark yet with the skills being in use. So I'll make an updated video later on my first-hand experience with them, so I can go over and re-explain how they work if they didn't work the way I felt I understood it based on the text explanation. So let's dive on in. Now, oh yeah, and this is our combatants for tomorrow on Saturday. I hope we win. Now, I'm going to click on management. I'm going to go to skills. Now, as you can see, we already have our skill set up. You are only allowed to have 6 skills for your alliance to use. Out of these 6 skills, as you can see, none of them are really high based. The highest are, well, they're only worth 3 energy bars. And I have a pretty good reason for that. But let's first talk about running charge. So running charge costs 2 energy bars, and the cooldown for it after use is 600 seconds. It increases the march speed of up to 30 alliance troops within an area by 100% for 30 seconds. Now, I like this ability, I would say, for the beginning of Ark, at the beginning. Now, based on how quickly you get energy bars versus how fast the Ark comes into play, that my opinion of this skill may change. Because, well, we don't really know, most of us yet, how the skills come into effect, how quickly or whatnot during the time around the Ark. I'm sure the Ark will actually take a lot longer than the skills to acquire. But I feel it's still good to have it on hand in case you can't use like Swift Stride. But I would definitely say, in a situation, going back to running charge, if you first acquire the Ark and then you're able to drop, I'm assuming this is a skill that your R4 or R5 lead will drop onto your area. It's a drag skill, I believe. If that's not how it works, then I'll recover that and go back over. But I believe that's how this works, because it says it's within an area. So I think that means you can select the area. I think that's good if you're placing it within the Ark area and you first acquire the Ark, so your teammate is going to use that to get a little bit of a lead, to get away from all the fighting that was probably going on in the middle, unless of course you have a dominant mid lane around Ark. Then I mean, you probably really don't need that skill. But yeah, no, it just helps to get a lead, so you can kind of get a little bit extra pace going on for those 30 seconds to try and score the Ark. But I would also say that maybe, this is good as a counter to someone's running charge if you use running charge, because then you can ultimately catch them still. Or I would say, I guess, maybe use it to counter their running charge, is what I was really trying to say. Because if they use it and then you use it, then it's not as if they're going any faster for those 30 seconds as you may be. So it really is just like, I use one, they use one to negate the one that I used. essentially it's good as a counter as well. Same with Swift Stride, although I would say Swift Stride is more something I would probably want to use during the mid game, because the cooldown on it is 720 seconds, and I really feel like that you would probably end up popping this off maybe 2 or 3 times during the game, probably during the arc captures, like if they have the arc or you have the arc and you're trying to run it back and then they catch up to you, so then they capture it and then you got to run back to them. It just keeps the game so that nobody's capturing. It makes it more of a back and forth. Granted, it is 720 second cooldown, so I really don't know if I like it all that much, because that's like, I haven't done the math, but I know it's like definitely way over 3 minutes of time. So I think it's somewhere around the 5-minute mark, I believe, or longer, which if it's going to be longer, if someone wants to comment on the math, hey, by all means, but I definitely know it's longer than 3 minutes. So that means that you're only going to get to use it a few times during the game. And again, I don't know how quickly you acquire an energy bar. So it might be like very selective, like, okay, an energy bar only comes around every so many minutes, which means out of these 6 skills, we can only use so many skills per. That's why I find it very difficult for me to look at the higher range skills when I can use more lower tier skills that would definitely help out way more in varied scenarios. But I do like that for the mid game. Now, as far as this one, hard push, goes, I'm actually going to test this one out, or try to, or have someone else who may be in the particular situation set up to pop it for what they're going to do on their side of the map. And what it does is it says the skill effects last for 2 minutes upon victory. Now, I'm guessing upon victory means that, like, you attack the obelisk or you attack the shrine and you won the shrine. So upon that, the time required to occupy structures is reduced by 30 seconds. I think that means, that's really optimal. I believe, because it doesn't specify if you took it. That's what I find hard to wrap my head around, I guess, because it says upon victory. So I'm guessing that means an overall victory of some sort of objective that your entire team takes. The time required to occupy structures is reduced. So when this, I'm guessing what I'm thinking is, when I mean, like, if we capture our obelisk first and then our teammates are falling behind on capturing theirs, they can actually capture it 30 seconds faster as well. I mean, or you jump to the next structure and you'll be able to capture that structure faster, is what I'm thinking is how it works. But it also says that when your alliance launches a rally attack and upon joining the rally, reduce troop march speed by 50%. Now, if I understand that correctly, my only guess, it says reduce troop march speed. I don't know if I really like that. Oh no, it says march time. Okay, so reduce march time by 50%. Okay, that's different. I thought for a second I was reading speed. I don't know why. No, if it reduces the march time by 50%, then that's definitely really, really good. Relentless Siege does the same thing, but it costs 1 more energy bar. And it has the march speed increased, and all armies joining the rally have their march time. So not only does it increase the march speed, it also increases the march time. That's probably where I was getting the march speed from, because I knew that they both did the same similar thing. I just was reading it wrong. And I guess I kind of like that, but I feel like that's just adding additional, like, reduced time. So rather than just giving you more reduced time, they're just giving you more march speed. Oh, no, we're skipping over way too many. Hold on. Hold on. Whoa, back up, back up. Okay. Tear down. Costs 3 energy bars, cooldown of 720 seconds, and you increases the attack of Alliance troops when attacking specified structure by 80% for 5 minutes. I think this is really good. I think it's really good because when you're attacking a structure, if you're filling the rally like you're supposed to be doing, this could be a really long rally, but it's something that can make it winnable. So using teardown is really good. But I also find it hard to believe that we're just going to continually attack a structure the whole time unless, like, okay, in our situation, we currently have more players than their players do, but we're of equal power. And, I mean, for all we know, maybe they're just lower level players that just didn't have everyone sign up. We don't know. I think it's a very situational thing to have this because you can check the roster and you can check the power and you can check how many people registered on their team and you can try to go from there. And the most that I can think about why we would really need this is not in this kind of situation. It's our 13, I believe, versus their 9 if I read the listing correctly, and they might not have a player show up. Now, the less players there are, the less marches go out. So out of 9 players, if they're all, let's say they're all T5. I highly doubt that they're all T5. I extremely highly would doubt it. But if per se they were, that means that out of 9 of them, they can only send out 5 marches each. That's only 45 marches. Now, between our 13, we can send out, I really need to do math right now. Because it's every 5. Give me 1 second. Still doing math. So it's like, that's 50, that's 55. 60. So it's like 65 marches? We can send out optimally 65 marches if that were the case with our 13. If we were all tier 5. But I don't think that's the case right now. Most players right now are at T3 in our alliance. Not all of them, actually. Most of them are like tier 5 or tier 4 and a few T3. But they're T3 that have 4 marches. So at that point, I'm going to say that we have 48 marches apiece. At least 48. And, because you never know, a player might not join or something might go wrong. So I'm going to say 48. Let's just pretend. There's only 12 people. Versus their 9, which I don't think are all T5. So that's like versus like 36 marches or something. So there's a few extra marches that can go somewhere that they're not going to be able to send all their marches to. They can't cover all the bases. There's marches that are going to be able to optimally go somewhere where I don't think that this skill is required, because if we force them into a choke point, they're going to have to take it, which, I mean, they're either going to tank it, and they're going to tank it like some champs, or they're going to die. Or they're going to have to send marches there to rally behind it if they don't have the Valiant stand skill, which is what we have. Which I don't really think we need it. But you never know. With higher tier players, it would definitely put a bruise if they attack and they only have 9 players. So they can only feed the march of a rally with maybe half of that. It's really not a lot. And I accidentally skipped over one, so I'm going to go back over to that. And war drums. I think war drums is kind of the same way I feel about running. What's it called? Running charge. It applies to an area. that troops are within 30 Alliance troops. And it increases their attack by 80% for 180 seconds. I like it because in a situation like this currently, if we pop this skill, I don't need that many players to go into the middle. I don't need that many players to go so many places to make up the amount. In the middle, it will be a dominant lane for the couple players or 3 players that I might send to the middle. And they're just going to be able to pretty much wipe the middle lane the whole time. And not have to worry about taking so many losses that they're having to send marches back while waiting to get the arc. So, definitely like that for that reason. Mystical Formation, same thing that War Drums does, except the defense version. 2 energy bars, 600 second cooldown, increases defense of up to 30 Alliance troops within an area by 50%. Oh, no, it doesn't. It's 50%, not 80%. Was War Drums 50%? Did I read that wrong? No, it was 80%. Okay, so really, Mystical Formation does not help out that much if somebody pops War Drums. It's only going to help you take 30% less. I really don't like Mystical Formation that much. Earlier I was reading it before I made the video. And I thought it was a counter. Like, oh, it's at 80%. So, I'm like, I don't know why somebody would use Mystical Formation either, though, if you could just counter War Drums with War Drums. Like, there's ways to just use 2 abilities the same way and create a normal game and then see who comes out on top. Really. So I don't know why Mystical Formation would be any better when you could just do 80% more attack and the best defense is offense kind of situation. Unless you're Richard or something, where you're just tanky and you're trying to last really, really long till maybe another march gets back. I guess that could help. I don't know. Valiant Stand, I was explaining this one earlier somewhat. Increase the defense of Alliance troops when garrisoning specified structure by 50% for 5 minutes. I like that. It's literally by 5 minutes. So within a 720 second cooldown, this skill is still going to be running. It's not a quick little skill and then you got to wait so many seconds. It's pop this skill and it lasts all the way till about skill reset. I think, like I was saying, I haven't done the math on 720 seconds. Actually, I believe 720 is close to 12, I think. I don't know why I say 12, but I know it's definitely past 5 minutes, clearly. So, do I like this? Somewhat, yes. I somewhat like this. Because at least the cooldown will degrade and be close to after its usage, rather than the 30-second run you get with any of the mobility at any point. Which, again, mobility is really what Arc's about, because you're constantly moving. So, do I think those are still very optimal skills? Yes. Yes, I do. Now, Divine Haste. Oh, no, we're skipping way too much. Mending Pouch. Costs 2 energy bars. The cooldown is 600 seconds. And it instantly heals some slightly wounded units of a healing factor of 5,000 to up to 30 Alliance troops within an area. I like it. I like it a lot. Definitely would use it. And actually, there's a few reasons why I'm saying I would use this. And I would actually use this over Heaven's Grace, which I will explain in a minute. It definitely comes in handy if you're trying to survive in the middle, or you're carrying the arc and you're dying and you're like, guys, I really need to carry the arc more. So you just do what you do and just pop it, and then boom, all my troops are healed. They're healed up. all the slightly wounded, making it so that, you know, maybe everyone within that area can survive a little bit longer and do a little bit more work on the opponent. Now, Divine Haste, I think this is the only one that costs 1, and here's why. It increases the march speed of scouts by 300% for 5 minutes. Do I like it? Kinda. It does only cost 1 energy bar, and you do get faster scout reports, but, I mean, do you really need to scout constantly? Because you could send a rally, and you could send a scout report. And what I think that I don't like this about the most is, if you're rallying a structure, and you're scouting the structure, they're going to wait until the rally gets there. So you may as well time how fast it's going to take your scout to scout it and coincide it about 10 seconds before the rally hits. That way, you know, you have time to cancel if need be. Unless you're definitely going to commit to the whole rally, then by all means, you know, whatever, it doesn't really matter. That's why I don't really like this skill, because you can time your scouts if you're smart. I feel like this is kind of like a skill that's used for someone who's not timing their scouts quite necessarily, and it's just hurting. So yeah, no, I'm not a fan. If anyone can find a really good reason for me to use Divine Haste, I'll definitely take that into account. Moving on with Insatiable Desire, we have, it costs 2 energy bars, same as any other 2 skills, so I'm definitely assuming that every skill that has a 2 for the energy bar that it uses has a cooldown of 600. And it increases the speed of all Alliance Caravan visits by 50% for 5 minutes. Do I like it? Maybe if it was a bigger team, honestly. If it was a bigger team and a bigger team fighting each other, and you got so many people doing so many jobs, and you definitely need people to do caravans, and you need the caravans to visit your Alliance side more, I think this could be really good when you're just trying to rack up points, because every 4 farmers at like 75 to 50, if they're farming the right nodes, if they are, you know, adds up to like 200-300 points per. So, do I think that's good? Yeah, because it's a very good passive way to acquire points. And I mean, I believe that this is like every 3 to 5 minutes that these are being farmed. So, yeah. Divine Aid. I have a tough time with this one as well, finding a reason why you need it, and I guess there is a good reason. Like, there is, but again, situational. I wouldn't really honestly pick your skills until you see how many opponents are on the other side of the field, just because you need to like kind of determine how powerful they are and determine what you think they're going to use. But situationally, if the odds are stacked against you or dead even or very close to dead even, which they're pretty dead even anyway because they pair you with another alliance that's similar in power. So I would say, I guess, more dead even in the terms of like the player base on their team, like how many people signed up. I wouldn't use this necessarily. If there is like more than enough players on their side, or they maxed it to 30 and your side's maxed to 30, then yes, I would say this is really optimal because you only get 20 teleports. And if your obelisk gets taken and then you retake it later, you might need those teleports just to defend the obelisk. So it's like you're kind of putting yourself at a disposition not having the 5. At the same time, I feel like it's also a wasted skill slot if you kind of have better odds than they do. Like right now, we fall below the 20 mark because it's a 13-9 situation. Do I think I need this? No. Because even if we lose the obelisk fully, which I really, really do doubt, because they can't put troops everywhere that can hold so many troops and not take heavy losses like we can. We'll still have anywhere from 7 to 8 extra teleports. So if one side loses out, it's like, oh, don't worry about it. Once we get it back, just teleport. And yeah, I just don't see a good reason for this. Unless you're a really big alliance and you're really trying to get people in there. Peril stone. So this is, excuse me, I'm getting tired. I think it's like 2 a.m. here, and Arc is in literally 8 hours, so I definitely have to, like, dip out soon. Peril stone. I don't like it. It costs too much, the cooldown time's a lot, and for the amount of damage that literally a commander can do, aka Minamoto, which, yes, by the way, I played against a Minamoto in our last game that hit for like during a rally, which is why I don't like this skill. He hit for like 14,000. Yeah. Or, well, no, I think it 1,400. Yeah, I know he just hit really, really hard. Like, it was some really tremendously big number, more than 1,400, and I was like, what's the point? Or, more than 10,000, actually. Sorry, the statement. But if he's hitting for more than 10,000, then I really don't see the relevancy in this skill, because it's just making it so you do 10,000 more. Like, why do I need to do an extra 10,000, waste 5 energy bars, have a really long cooldown on it, and for what? I don't see a relevant reason for this skill to even be needed. Alright, now moving on to Heaven's Grace. Costs 6 energy bars. Cooldown is 3,600 seconds. I don't like it. I like the fact that it does heal for a lot, but I don't like the fact that the cooldown is so long. And I'm guessing they base all the cooldowns off of how many energy bars are on a skill, which is fine, except in this situation. Because instantly heal some slightly wounded units, healing factor of 15,000 to up to 10 alliance troops within an area. I don't like that. I really don't. And I'll say it because it just doesn't cover enough players. So if, let's say there's a whole cluster of people all surrounding the Ark, different players, more than 10, because you gotta remember, I'm kind of somewhat basing this off of a 30 to 30 Ark of Osiris, so 30 armies versus 30 armies, and I don't see how this skill can even help if you only have 10 alliance troops that benefit from it. Like, at that point, it's a random proc if you have more than 10 within that circle. Like, oh, I hope that the Ark carry and so-and-so and so-and-so get it, because there's like 15 to 16 of us in here that need it, which, again, if they're sending their own marches, they probably have 5, and, 5, so like 15 marches, 20 marches, whatever. So some of those players probably won't benefit. But the cost is way high. Like, it takes 600 seconds for the 5,000 to come back, 2 less energy, and it only takes about 1,800 cooldown to use it 3 times, which is the same healing factor base equivalent of Heaven's Grace. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, like, you're gonna like be able to spam click Mending Pouch, once you use it, you gotta wait, but at least it pops up faster. At least it can be used anywhere. So if they pop theirs and lose the situation, I still can pop Mending Pouch 3 times faster and heal different areas, making it better, I feel, because it's a distributive heal. in a faster amount of time. Less heal, but still really, really good. And finally on the list, there's To the Death. Now, this increases the damage dealt of up to 30 ally troops within an area by 100%. I like it, but I don't like it. And it increases their damage reduction by 50%, which lasts for a minute. So, during this period, troops cannot receive any healing. That's what I don't like. I like the fact that you can hit really hard. I like the fact that it somewhat works out in that way. Like, oh yeah, I can, hit really hard, whatever, but unless you're hitting hard enough to destroy them completely a couple times, I like the heal better. I think the healing is way, way better rather than just taking heavy losses and not going anywhere. And it does say troops within an area, so I'm assuming if you dropped it on an obelisk too, it could be really good. But we're just not going to use it for this fight just because it's just not what I think we need. Now, as you can see, I picked those 6 skills, and I said one was to test out a mechanic, the other one was because I had a theory, and then the last, the first 4, I just don't see why you shouldn't use them. I think Valiant stand is really good as long as their rally commits, because if their rally breaks off after you pop it, you're literally wasting 3 energy bars for 5 minutes for nothing. Now granted, I don't think it's completely a waste because it's more of a deterrent. So, you pop it, they're like committing to the attack, and then they might just cancel because they're like, oh no, we can't handle this. Well, that means that all their troops have to come back, they now have to reformulate strategy, and they can't just attack a structure for 5 minutes that they think you're going to go reinforce because you'll have the upper hand. So I do kind of like it as more of a deterrent rather than its actual use. But yeah, no, that is definitely it, guys. I think I've covered all the bases I wanted to cover, and I hope that you guys can figure out what kind of skills that you want to use, and I hope that in the near future, people kind of say what they've experienced with using these skills and just doing some playtesting. Because now with the new skill lineup and how many bars they cost, I don't want to use anything too high if it's really not worth it during arc. I would use more of the smaller one, win my fight, help the guy escort the arc, and then just pop it again when need be, rather than popping a 6 and then just, winning anyway, but it feels like a little overkill at the same time. So, I don't really see any purpose in that. But, okay guys, this has been Samurai. I hope you enjoyed the video, and, yeah. Peace out.